Hello, Dante, my man. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Beautiful. And thank you so very much for being here. And you see, Dante, oftentimes I love to thank my guest for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, I want to say thank you so very much, Dante, for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invested in yourself. And oftentimes, my man, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. Let's say some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, Dante, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Dante, just recently I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree. The mango tree caught my attention
hmm
pretty good from a distance, and immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me. Because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches. And not just mangoes now, Dante. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a
Yeah.
lovely experience that day. I was so excited. I tell you, my man, here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Dante that you are today, that alone has made it impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing. Your philosophies, your insights, your journey, the impact your work is having, how you're offering your solutions. These stuffs are beautiful. And just before I sent that request, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things Dante is doing. Not only me now, but even with the audience. And here we had it there with the amazing Dante. So thank you so very much for doing that yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thanks so much, my man.
No, I certainly appreciate it, man. And to speak about the mango tree, it's kind of metaphorical because if you think about it, the first time when you walk by it, it was essentially dying, is how it may have come across to you. Then when you go back another time, it's very fruitful, and perhaps that means it just wasn't yet its season the first time.
Hmm,
So we
hmm.
have to understand not every season is always going to be our season, and we may appear to be on our last leg. But then if you turn the corner, you say, well, wow, look at what Elisha's doing now. I just saw him a few months ago and I thought he was done. I thought he was finished.
Hmm.
But just like the mango tree, you had a resurgence, you have a rebirth. And if it's your season, then nothing can stop you. So now that mango
Nice.
tree will have all these admirers when prior to people will walk by and pay it no mind whatsoever.
That's a powerful perspective, Dante. And thank you for sharing that. I love that. I love that. So you see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today for two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Dante, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you see, my man, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the amazing Dante on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, my man, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, my man, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So, for that reason, Dante, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Dante got here. Then, afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, my man, over to you.
Okay. Yeah. So My story is probably somewhat typical of the young African American story, meaning that I was born into a household with a single mother and I had six older siblings. And well, that's not typical. It's not typical to have seven kids in America. Yeah, it's not typical at all. My mom was 29 when she had me, so I was child number seven. And, we didn't have a whole lot whatsoever coming up, which that is probably typical of the Black American child. You just don't have a lot of resources unless you come from a background where people have either gone to school, they're educated, they have decent jobs, and that just wasn't my background. So I came up like that for a few years. When I was about 4 years of age, we got removed from the household, Child Protective Services, and we got dispersed to different households. And my journey kind of went from there. I was lucky enough at the age of 4 to randomly meet a woman who was driving by my house from work one day. And my brother and I ran out into the street and I chased him. He was on my bicycle and this vehicle stops and a woman jumps out the car to put us back in the yard. And she was a judge. And at least here in our country, a judge is a very prestigious position. So that's how I met this woman who would eventually become my law partner later on in life, 30 years or so down the road. And we had this beautiful relationship. We still have it to this day, but this very beautiful relationship that was cultivated from the moment that I met her. And we meet at 4 and she takes a special interest in all of us. And she begins to involve herself in our lives. She buys this very large van to start transporting us to little amenities and activities like swimming and skating and bowling. Things that if you come from an impoverished household, you would never have the chance to even do, even fathom. So we couldn't afford that. There were times we didn't have lights, which again, that is not atypical of an African-American upbringing in the U.S. if you come from impoverished neighborhoods. So my story in the sense of the way I came up initially was not very different than the average person of my color, of my race. What made it different is that I met this woman and then my life just kind of went from there. And I did go through stuff in between. But so fast forward, I meet her and from about 4 to 15, we all stay in contact. We know her. She's still around. And at the age of 15, I was pretty much on the brink of going to a group home. And she stepped in and took me into her house, her and her husband. The husband's a lawyer. Her son's a lawyer. And I take it from there. I go to college. I do well. Go to law school. Do well. Finish law school. Become licensed as an attorney. And I just keep going from there. And I eventually opened this law firm with her about 2 years ago. And that's the 90-second condensed version of the story.
Amazing. And it's beautiful the impact your work is having. But I'm curious about this one. What happened in 1997 that changed your life?
Yeah, well, that was meeting her.
Oh,
And at the age of 4, you don't actually know that the moment is going to change your life. Because the way I saw it, we met this woman, we were in the street. We should not have been in the street. And I figured I was going to be in trouble for being in the street. And before you know it, again, this woman takes this likening to us and she becomes so involved, like a grandmother almost. And from there, it just continues to just matriculate into like a deeper relationship where my brother lived with her for a while, my sister lived with her for a little while, and eventually I go live with her. And when I'm in college, I say, well, perhaps I can go to law school. And the reason that's important because I didn't even think I would go to college initially. Not because my grades weren't there, but that wasn't a part of my family's culture. That's not what we did. No one had gone to college, from my knowledge, at least. At least they hadn't finished if they ever gone. So I never even had the thought that I would get into law school or even go to law school. I only considered that because I was in the environment with this woman and her husband and her children who are all lawyers. So that's the osmosis effect. You become what you see, or whether that's directly in front of you or whether that's on television, these things all influence you. And so if you're around something long enough, you believe that you can actually become that as well. So self-doubt played a role at first when you're young, you don't have anybody that you can look to say, well, at least, and from my direct lineage, there were no lawyers. So there were no professors, no doctors, no engineers, no teachers. I had no type of role model outside of this person to look at. But because I had her and I had her husband, that was enough for me. And I had them for a few years when I lived there. And that's what gave me that idea, that confidence to even consider going to law school and becoming a lawyer. So that moment in 97, unbeknownst to me when I met her in the street, was the life-changing moment.
Now I get it. And that part where you mentioned that you become what you see, that's a profound statement. So why did you choose to become a criminal defense attorney?
So I'm 32, Elisha, and the saddest part about that is a lot of my clients are around my age, or you give or take 5 or 10 years, and they look like me, or like my sister, or like my niece, or like my nephew, or like a cousin, or like an uncle, or like an aunt. I wanted to be somebody that understood exactly where they're coming from. And I'm not going to just pass immediate judgment and assume that because you have been accused of committing a crime that you are immediately guilty. And even if you are guilty, it doesn't mean that you're not redeemable as a person. You still have qualities as an individual that are still redeemable. You can still be beyond what you've been accused of or even convicted of. So when it's all said and done, people want a very good, sharp, competent attorney. Absolutely. But they also want somebody that makes them feel like what they've done is not who they truly are. Someone that truly understands where they come from, what they come from, and who they can become. And I think the reason why it's so important for me to be a criminal attorney is there's a level of hope that I can give people if they understand my background. So I don't come from an area where I just walked into this profession and it was expected of me. There was nothing expected of me whatsoever. And so if I was able to get here through all the strife that I was able to get through and tribulations, then that should mean as well, any of my clients that are going through whatever they're going through, once we get through this, you now can chart your own path and become whoever you want to become because you're looking at me and we're around the same age.
You see, that's a great virtue right there. And the fact that you think like that, it's amazing. It's amazing, I tell you. So let's talk about your faith, all right? How has your faith helped you in your journey?
So I think it's very important for anybody who believes in anything, and that's whatever your faith may be. It doesn't have to be a particular religion, just anything. When you understand that there are certain elements to life that you cannot control, that's where faith comes in. So I was able to sit my body down here and turn this computer on and have a conversation with you. I can control that. What I cannot control is what occurs when I walk outside the door today and life just happens. I know where I'm going. I know what my schedule says, but I can't control every single thing. I couldn't control me meeting the judge in 1997. I couldn't control that. That was completely random. So when you start looking at your life, you say, well, perhaps we have a degree of control over some things, but there are many things that happen to us for us that we can either see as positive or negative, and then we question why things happen to us. But then if you look at your faith, you say, well, if this hadn't happened to me, could I become who I am now? Was this required for me to become who I am? Was it nothing more than just another mountain to climb? So that way I can look at Mount Everest and have confidence to even attempt to climb Mount Everest. So these things that happen to us, I believe, is all rooted in faith. And again, we have some control, but just not full control.
We have some control, but not just full control. Okay, I got that. So, what do you tell young men who think their past holds them back?
Well, what I tell them is that if you want to look for a convenient excuse, then you can use that. And you can use it for as long as you want to use it for. And someone will always have pity for you to some degree. But when you stop using your past as an excuse for who you are today and who you will become in the future, is when you take real power over who you are. And then you decide everything for yourself. You decide whether or not what you experience is meant to debilitate you, break you, or if it's meant to build you. You can decide. It can be either or. It can be the worst thing that's ever happened to you, but then you use that pain and it can fuel you into success. So trauma can work both ways. Trauma can keep you down, it can hold you down, or it can build you up. Someone who perhaps was an alcoholic, I would imagine the person that started the AA program was probably an alcoholic. People that have to go through these 12-step programs to
Yeah.
figure out how to beat that disease. So that person, and I don't know for sure, I'm just speculating here, that person, because they had their tribulations, they had that trauma that was attached to something as terrible as becoming an alcoholic, use that to help somebody else. So what you go through qualifies you to help somebody. So if you want to use your past, then use it not as an excuse, but as a reason to help somebody.
Exactly, exactly. And that's so true. So you wrote a memo. What is it about?
Yeah, so it's in the process right now. I'm writing it alongside somebody else, and it's primarily about, part of it is about my story, but I'm really trying to get the message across here that it's less about me and it's more about the reader. How you can use any moment that appears to be traumatic and make it triumphant. How you can turn your pain into power. How all of these different things that occur to you in life, they don't have to completely bury you. You don't have to dig your own graveyard and throw yourself in it. You can dig yourself out of the graveyard and say, you know what? Okay, I'm now choosing to do this a different way. And it's not too late. Age won't stop you. You can be 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. It doesn't matter. Your race won't stop you anymore. Your background won't stop you. Your religion won't stop you. Use these things to fuel yourself. So primarily, I'm giving them some of what happened to me, like in my life, but it's supposed to empower the reader. That's my goal.
To empower the reader. So what's the title again?
I'm sorry, say that again, Elisha.
Yeah, I said, what's the title? What's the title of the memo?
So it's called The Judge and the Juvenile, How One Moment Transformed a Life and the System.
Beautiful
It's
title.
about
And I
how I
can,
met the judge and how
oh,
our lives together became what it is now.
oh. And I tell you, I've got to say this, she's such an amazing person. And you're still in contact? You still talk?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's like a mom. We talk all the time.
Wow. That's
All the
that's
time.
that's so beautiful. I love that. So to bring this to an
Yeah.
end, my man, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought, and to those folks who like to reach out to you, learn more about the beautiful stuff you're doing, or make a purchase of your memo once it's out? How can that be possible?
Yeah, so they can go to social media. I'm on Instagram, Dante Wright, ESQ. That's DanteWright, ESQ. You can go to the website, everythingdante.com. You can see the pre-order for the book. You can see some information there. You'll see an interview there that I did recently with a national network about the story that I had with the judge. And so I'm around. You can go on YouTube and look up the podcast. I do some reels and stuff here and there. That's called Born Moguls, Moguls. So there are a few different ways to find me and reach out to me, and I'm available to talk. And I don't charge you if you want to talk. We can just talk and chat about things, see how I can help somebody out. But I'm available. And to go to your last request, Elisha, you said, what do I want to leave the audience with?
That's right.
I think, again, they should consume more content like yours, people like you who are really pushing these positive messages out there. Because as I'm sure you know, seeing something one time, we think that maybe our eyes are deceiving us. We have to see a number of examples to start to accept that this may be reality. And what I mean is, if they only hear my voice, this is the first time, that's not sufficient. They need to hear my voice and maybe 30 more voices before it finally sets in with them and say, okay, well, maybe I actually can pick myself up and begin to start to walk my path, whatever that path may be for them. So listen to good people who are producing good content. And when you finally accept that you can become more than what you are, take the first step. And the first step could be different for every single person. I don't know what the first step is for them particularly. They will know once they get there. So that's important. And just be around positive people as much as you can. The world's already negative enough. Be around positive people. You don't have to find negativity. It'll find you. But it's hard to just seek out and be around positive energy on a regular basis. You have to actually find that. So do your best to do that and listen to good people that are promoting good messages. And eventually you will find yourself in the right place.
That's so true, my man. Profound words. And I got that. Be around positive people. I got that, my man. So that's going to be the end of the show, Dante. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing this beautiful stuff with us. It means a whole lot, my man. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.